It's happened again. Tottenham Hotspur, it's happened again. You said a couple weeks ago Declan Rice is still slightly ahead of him.
Clearly, I've changed my opinion.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Chelsea Exposed. I'm a very ill Chelsea reporter, Lloyd Canfield, joined by fellow Chelsea reporter Jack Rosser. Jack, how are you?
Recovering now, I think. Recovering from the same thing that you've now got, so enjoy that.
Yeah, I'm also going to be recovering, hopefully soon in time for Chelsea's game against Wolves at the weekend. What did you spend your weekend doing?
Very similar to you, I think.
You were also dressed as a cowboy celebrating Halloween?
Yeah, just in the press box at Chelsea.
Oh, that's what we like to hear. Well, yeah, admittedly, I wasn't actually watching most of Chelsea's game against Spurs. While you were there, tell us a bit about it.
It wasn't a very good game. Compared to the
I didn't
last
miss
couple
much then.
No, compared to the last couple of years where Chelsea have gone to Tottenham and it's all hell has broken loose. I think we were sat there watching, another failed Tottenham corner be collected by Robert Sanchez or a cross that met no one from either side, thinking I think we'd already had about 4 goals by this time last year. Spurs were awful. Chelsea kept up their record. I think we've got in the paper today they've won their last 5 games in all competitions against Spurs. They've won more games at Tottenham Stadium than any other visiting team. It was their 6th win there, so things didn't change much from that point of view. But Tottenham were horrendous. Chelsea, I don't think were incredible, but should have won by 2 or 3. Maybe there were some chances that they should have done a bit better with later on when Tottenham were supposed to be chasing the game but not really doing too much to get back into it. But no, I think it was, there's a lot of good news to come out of it from Chelsea, really. No one got injured, no one got sent off, which is one of the big wins, and they managed to win. Joao Pedro scored again, his first goal since the end of August, which is quite a bizarre thing to think. I suppose the Club World Cup messes things up about in your head, but everyone thinks he's had this blistering start at Chelsea and he'd only scored twice in the Premier League before the weekend, and that was going back to I think 10 games for club and country that he'd not scored for. And I know we'll get on to him, but Moises Caicedo was
amazing,
absolutely phenomenal, made the goal for Pedro, relentless throughout. I think that sort of discipline from Chelsea was a big thing that Maresca would have liked, but yeah, considering what we've had in these games for the last few years, not an incredible spectacle.
Yeah, when I went to the game last year and it was amazing, that Palmer chipped penalty. And I just want to clarify also, I have got a cold. My voice isn't bad from singing. Sorry in advance, Dean Scoggins, when you watch this. It's happened again. It's happened again. Tottenham Hotspur. It's happened again. Because, yeah, Chelsea, sorry, Dean, and any Spurs fans who might be tuning into this,
and me having to listen
to you
it
as well, and anyone else who's watching and has to listen to my singing. But yeah, let's talk a bit, firstly, about Moises Caicedo, because like you said, he was absolutely brilliant. For me, the best defensive midfielder, definitely, on the planet. I think he's even working his way to just being one of the best players on the planet. You said a couple weeks ago that you think at the minute Declan Rice is still slightly ahead of him. Have your thoughts changed at all on that?
It seems they often do, because I've just remembered that I wrote in the paper that Rodri's got the Ballon d'Or and Declan Rice is top of the Premier League, but neither feel like they're the same all-round level as Kaisedo, so clearly I've changed my opinion.
That's what we like to hear.
Not in the haze of a hasty write-up over the weekend. No, he was absolutely phenomenal, and I think Declan Rice is a fantastic player and he's doing big things with Arsenal. He obviously scored at the weekend. I feel like the way Arsenal are playing, he's doing it with a bit more support as well. There's a lot of Kaisedo has been playing with injury problems as well as Enzo Fernandez.
Yeah.
You don't know whether he's going to have Reece James alongside him, Malo Gusto, Lavia, Fernandez and somebody further forward. A lot's changing around Kaisedo, and he's been, so far this season, the one consistent thing, especially without Cole Palmer having that creativity in front of him. It wasn't just the aggression of winning balls and shielding the back line that Kaisedo has always done so well and did so well at the weekend. It was creating things. He was aggressively pressing, obviously won the ball not once but twice in the build-up to the Joao Pedro goal, instead of the will to get there ahead of the Spurs defender and square it to Joao Pedro. But throughout, he was pushing forward, playing forward, finding passes through the lines, fizzing balls through and trying to get Chelsea on the front foot, where ordinarily, or when Chelsea have everyone available, his job is to win it and probably play it to Cole Palmer, or just whack one in from 30, 35 yards. I think all round, like you said, he's one of the best defensive midfielders in the world. He's getting to that all round he's getting to that all round level at the moment as well, where he's influencing every single part of the game. He's being a goal threat, he's getting assists. I think him and Rice are fairly similar in terms of combined goals and assists so far this season, but Kaisedo is doing it not fully fit and with a lot of change going on around him, a bit of inconsistency and maybe not the confidence that the entire Arsenal team have got at the moment. So yeah, I think he may now be ahead of anyone else in the Premier League.
So, Chelsea fans watching, we've set the record straight. Jack has finally admitted his previous mistake and
there was no mistake there.
The paper, we've got it in writing. Moises Caicedo is the best defensive midfielder on the planet right now. Jack definitely agrees with me. No one can argue with me. It's in writing. It's confirmed. That's it.
He clearly watched a few weeks ago and stepped his level up.
Yeah, or maybe that. He's amazing. Anyway, Joao Pedro, he's next to talk about because he's finally scored after a run of, was it 10 games?
For club and country.
Yeah, without a goal, which is slightly concerning when Chelsea are not scoring all that many goals. They have had goals coming from all around the team, Moises Caicedo being one of them who's stepped up to smash them in from range. Enzo Fernandez as well. But it has been a bit of a concern, the lack of goals that their forward central strikers are scoring. Obviously, Delap's been out. Joao Pedro's been stepping up. Sometimes it's been Tyreek George in there. And he's finally got a goal. We said last week his goals for Brighton tend to come in patches or in runs, and then he goes on kind of a barren run. And Maresca said he prefers to play him probably a bit further back in that kind of number 10 position. But obviously Cole Palmer, when he's fit, will take up that role. How important, firstly, is this goal for Joao Pedro? And how important is it that he kicks on and secures that place as number 9, especially now that Delap's going to be coming back?
I don't think it's important for him that he secures. I mean, personally, for him, it'll be important that he secures it and he's the preferred starter in all the big games. But with Delap coming back, I think it eases a bit of pressure on him. He obviously had a rather embarrassing return in the Carabao Cup against Wolves with a daft red card, daft 2 yellows to be sent off. I think for Pedro, it was a well taken goal. It's important that he's got the goal, and we stop talking about that now. He looked really up for the fight all the way through. He was played leading the line. He had Enzo Fernandez behind him, and against what has become a good Tottenham defence, he was really, barging into challenges, shoving defenders off, and they're a big back line Tottenham have got, and he was really up for the scrap with them, which is a good sign because especially against Sunderland, he just looked anonymous in some games recently. He's drifted from the game and not been able to get involved. And comparing him to the other end with Randall Kolo-Muani, who you forgot was on the pitch at times, that was an encouraging sign. I think obviously it's good for Maresca that he will have a player that is scoring, and as he looks to bring Delap in, Delap's not scored a Premier League goal for Chelsea yet, so you don't want that sort of pressure on a young player coming back from injury, having had what he's had happen with the sending off when he did come back. If you're suddenly relying on him very heavily, not an ideal situation to be coming back into the team. Whereas if Pedro is, chin up and up for it, if he maybe gets a goal against Carabao, whether he starts or not, and with that, but again, you laugh, but if you can go there and take advantage of playing a small team and score 2, give him a bit of confidence going into the Wolves game. And if it does come in a cluster, then fantastic, and you've got the time to ease Delap in before that scoring streak runs out. So a much better place to be in than a week ago. Yeah.
He, like you mentioned, I was actually really impressed by his kind of physicality against that Spurs defence. It actually reminded me a bit of this man, if you can see him on my T-shirt in there. That kind of physicality and just going for it and being really up to win the ball and progress the ball. That's what Chelsea want to see from their forward players, especially from their striker, to be that next kind of Didier Drogba figure, to be physical. Maybe not as physical as Delap was against Wolves. That was probably a bit too much. But that's what we like to see. The thing we didn't like to see was, like I said, I watched the highlights this morning on the train in. The amount of chances he didn't score. Obviously, he got that goal. the all-important goal, won Chelsea the game. But from what I was watching, he could have had like 4 or 5 probably by the end of the game.
I'm not sure it's quite that much. Vicario did make a good save from him, and I think that will be maybe the one concern that Maresca had, because Tottenham are good defensively, but the chances that Chelsea didn't create too many chances, but the chances they did create were good enough to have a wider cushion, especially the ones later on. And I think what would be more concerning is if he wasn't getting those chances. He's converted one, which will help his confidence. I think if you weren't getting those openings at all, you'd be in a far worse place. Managers will always say that. And it's good that we're not getting too carried away. I think if he managed to score 3 or 4, we'd be comparing him with someone like Didier Drogba.
Yeah.
So
I'd be sat here. He's the next Drogba. Chelsea are back.
Which you definitely haven't done in the last 30 seconds. But no, there were. I think that it was a good day for Chelsea. I think that would have been one of the bigger concerns, that they didn't manage to make it more comfortable and have another one of those very, very good away days at Tottenham. Yeah.
And another player I also want to talk about, the third and final player we'll talk about today. We could spend all day talking about Reece James and all these guys, but I wanted to speak about Robert Sanchez because in my opinion and as a fan, I think he obviously last season got a lot of stick, and I think a lot of it was justified because he had some real howlers last season and probably cost Chelsea a lot of points. There was that statistic about the amount of errors that he'd made leading to goals that was simply tragic. There's no other way to say it. But since the Club World Cup, I think he's quietly been building himself up. And obviously the Maignan news that Chelsea didn't go and get him in January, and now he's kind of been given this almost last chance at Chelsea to prove himself, and I think he's making the most of that chance. I think he's been really good.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that was quite funny, I think he went and spoke to the international broadcasters after the game, and I think it might have been Canal Plus sort of said to him, you didn't have much to do today because Spurs were so poor. And I don't think he was very happy because he pointed out that he came and claimed sort of 10 or 11 crosses from corners, which there's been a lot of talk about set pieces around everyone and Chelsea, but their clear plan was give Robert Sanchez space, he will run out and catch it, and he did it time and time and time again, which is a really important thing when Chelsea have been struggling from second balls at set pieces. To be able to have him just nip them in the bud like that was really important. We spoke to him afterwards. He was very complimentary of Moises Caicedo, which is in today's paper, but he also spoke really well about his own journey and how this is probably the most confident, comfortable and settled he's felt as a Chelsea player since arriving. He's had injuries, managers changing ever since he came from Brighton, and he really is establishing himself as a very reliable number one now. We sort of flip-flop between him and Philip Jorgensen last season. One would come in, make a mistake, the other one would come in, make a mistake. Now it's just Jorgensen making the mistakes when he comes in at the moment. So Sanchez is, like you said, I think over the summer they obviously tried to sign Mike Maignan. We were told once that was over, that was it. Not many people believed some of the talk that was coming out that would be it, but fair play to them. They stuck with Sanchez, said they believed in him, and they did, and he's showing them that they were right to do that. And it's nice to see because, you know, whenever you speak to him, he's a very affable chap, a very nice guy to speak to.
He's got a brilliant car collection as well. I don't know.
Well, exactly.
I don't know if you've seen
the all-important things.
Incredible. Very good taste.
Exactly, and he's becoming a very, very reliable goalkeeper for Chelsea.
Yeah, I think the best way to describe it, I give a shout out to CFC Daily on Twitter. He said, I felt safe with Robert Sanchez in goal. And Chelsea Spurs is always a big game. It's a proper rivalry. I feel like as a Chelsea fan, it's the game you look forward to the most in the calendar is Spurs away. It's always feisty. Obviously, when Chelsea play Spurs at home in the past, we've had the Battle of the Bridge. It's always a brilliant spectacle to watch. Whether, like you said, well, the game might have been a bit boring, but what comes out of it is always brilliant. And what came out of this one is one of my favourite things. Is there was so much, for lack of a better word, we'll use the word housery from the Chelsea players and the Chelsea fans and the Chelsea social media guys. I love to see that as a fan. And what I think it was Gusto, Lavia, and I'm not sure exactly who the other one was, but they posted their like post-game social media posts with the location as Gusto did it as home sweet home, Lavia did it as the training ground. I love to see all that stuff coming out of it. And the video of Pedro Neto, have you seen that? He basically, I'm not going to I'll try and recreate anyway. He basically turns around to these Spurs fans and just goes is absolutely
What a wonderful image
crazy.
to end on that.
We'll have to see if we can somehow get a screenshot or something of the video so I don't look like a complete lunatic, even though I'm sure I still will. But do you like to see that? Because I love to see
I like to see, do you know what there wasn't much quality about it. There was a lot of blood and thunder, people flying into tackles, a few frustrated challenges from players on either side. We mentioned Pedro really getting stuck in.
Yeah.
Reece James in midfield was after absolutely everyone and taking an absolute kicking. There were 2 challenges, one from Bentancur on James, one from Fernandez, I think, that probably could have been red cards, and they weren't, which is always quite nice when those are being allowed to let go and carry on. So while there wasn't much quality there, and it was a hard watch at times, there was enough of that.
Hard watch.
It was enough to keep you. It was enough to keep you interested. Those big challenges.
What happened with that Reece James one? Because that was the first half. I wasn't watching that, but I saw a lot of uproar.
Yeah, I think Chalobah ended up being booked for the protests rather than Bentancur being sent off. It was probably a deep orange shade of a red card, but both of them rather lucky to still be on the pitch, given the amount of angles we can get of everything and frame.
And Chelsea's just history. I wouldn't be surprised if it just whips out a red card.
So we didn't have a red card, but we very nearly did have a red card as well.
And in this fixture of any, you would have expected, you'd have probably put money on a Chelsea red card of some form, but they didn't manage to get one, so fair play. Maybe there is no discipline problem after all.
No one will be suspended for Wolves.
We'll see about that when we play Wolves again, and if someone gets red card there. But moving on to Wolves, it is Wolves on Saturday, I believe it is, 8 p.m,
Saturday
right?
night, yeah, everyone's favourite kick-off time.
We'll both be there? Brilliant, that's what we like to hear. And Dan as well?
Yeah, the full team.
The full trio, that's what we like to hear. So we'll be back Monday discussing that. But as we preview it, Wolves obviously have got a new manager coming in.
Or an old manager coming in.
Yeah, or an old manager. Yeah. He should probably have been appointed by the Chelsea game on Saturday, you would expect. But do you think Wolves then Wolves pose a new challenge with that? It goes by the new manager bounce, doesn't it?
Yeah. They'll probably be, if it is Gary O'Neill, and it could be by the time this is out this afternoon, you never know. They'll be a bit more organised and maybe a bit more direct. I did like them at times under Vitor Pereira, and I quite liked him as well, so it's a bit of a shame we've lost him. But they really are woeful at the moment, so they shouldn't pose
they are
too much of a challenge.
Aren't they?
But these have been the games where Chelsea sort of unexpectedly suddenly start to trouble, and God knows what will happen if they dare to play a back 5.
God, yeah, that's not what we want to see. But yeah, Wolves. Let's just talk about Wolves, because they've been so poor. And when Chelsea played them in the cup, it looked as though it was going to be a walk in.
Well, this
park.
is the thing, isn't it? These games where you think Sunderland are coming in, and Sunderland haven't been poor, they've been very good.
Yeah.
But that is a game that, regardless of how well Sunderland have played, Chelsea should tick off. These are the ones where they struggle. They're in a comfortable position against Wolves and let them back in. This is, I think that's the positive thing to take from Spurs, is that they went ahead and stayed there by keeping their foot down, especially Kaisedo. So there can be no room for any sort of complacency, which you would like to think there won't be after what happened against Sunderland.
Yeah.
But that's the challenge. Wolves, there's a new manager to impress. People are going to be up for it, stick their chest out. Chelsea should be able to swat them away, and that's going to be the test of where they're at as a team, whether they really have improved or are learning lessons from things that have happened.
Do you think he'll stick with Joao Pedro up front and someone else behind him, or will he throw Delap back in?
I'd imagine we'll see a bit of Delap midweek, and they will have to see how he gets through that, because they're
if he gets through that,
yeah. They've taken a sort of a big change in how they're dealing with injuries and not rushing people back anymore. So I can't imagine he will start probably this side of the international break. Yeah,
it's been a lot of rotation at Chelsea. So can we get? We never do this, but can we just get a prediction on Chelsea against Wolves?
A slightly stinky 1-0 Chelsea win.
Okay, I think I'm going to go for 2-1. I think Gittins and Reece James will score.
They've got to get past the mighty Qarabag first. So.
Yeah, we'll see about that when they play them. I think that's Wednesday, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, so
Dan is flying there via every conceivable route at the moment.
We should say a prayer, really.
So just
Dan
send
on his long
send our blessings
journey.
to Dan, who is somewhere on his way to Istanbul at the moment.
Dan will be thinking of you on your travels to Baku from here in the Chelsea Exposed studio. But that's all we've got time for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you don't, Chelsea will lose to Qarabag and Wolves this weekend. Let us know in the comments what you think, if Moises Caicedo is the best midfielder on the planet. And also let us know, more importantly, what you think of my new moustache. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.